Hello, today we're going to be going through one of the new subclasses from the Exploring Eberron extension book that came to D&D Beyond on the 27th of January. Time is hard to perceive, you understand. There are a bunch of cool things in that book, but the Dirge Commander archetype is just fascinating to me, which means that today's build is a little bit different. I'm not really going to be talking about damage, I'm just going to be talking about the utility that you can pull off. You'll see. But the aim here is to be a backline bard which just issues orders and oversees everything going on while buffing their friends and debuffing their enemies. So let's get to it. Because I'm not really interested in damage, I'm not going to be doing my usual damage calculations. I'm just going to be talking through spell choices at different levels, and I'm also not going to bother doing the whole leveling up thing I normally do. I do want to talk about our starting choices here though, because they are important. We're going to be starting off as the new Changeling. There are a few reasons for this, but the most important one is the fact that you, while shapeshifted, have advantage on all of your charisma checks, which is fantastic as a bard, to say the least. We're going to take deception and persuasion there as well. And then for stats, obviously, as a changeling, you're starting off with charisma. So our stats to begin with will be 8, 16, 8, 8, 8, 16 for dex, and then 15 for con, and then 8, 8, and then 17 for charisma. You're looking at the level 15 stats, because that's just where I'm finishing the build. It's a fairly arbitrary choice, but hey. The reason we are going changeling, aside from advantage on all of our checks, is because of one of the new backgrounds. The Changeling Traveller feat gives us skill proficiency of sleight of hand as well as another skill of our choice, basically, which is lovely. But it also gives us focused personas. Focused personas lets us have two different personas. You can have as many as you want from an RP perspective, but one of them can be good with tools, and the other one has expertise in one of the skills that you are proficient with. Shockingly, that's really strong. So I've gone for persuasion straight off the bat. That means that at level 1, you have expertise in persuasion straight away. As a bard, you can take whatever you want here. I obviously recommend taking the other charisma ones and maybe some wisdom ones as well. Perception is always good, so is arcana. You also get bardic inspiration. This is always handy. It gives your friends a boost, and you can grant it as a bonus action. They can add it to their d20 tests, basically, if they fail. That will be relevant. We also get spell casting. Spells are important, as it turns out. If you see the screen move randomly while I'm moving the mouse, it's because I got a new mouse, and the mouse wheel is preposterously sensitive. It's very, very good mouse. I just have to adjust to using it. For our level 1 spells and our cantrips, I've taken finger guns as a way to slow down enemies, and also because it is good to have a way to attack, even though not much else does. And vicious mockery, because this lets us not only deal some damage, but also give a creature disadvantage on the next attack roll that they make. And then for level 1 spells, I've gone for Bane, which is fantastic for debuffing your enemies. Command, because it fits the build wonderfully. Comprehend languages, because it fits really nicely as well. And then Healing Word and Silvery Barbs later on as well. Healing Word is just good. We'd actually pick that up at level 2, but Silvery Barbs is a fantastic choice because it lets us just cancel critical hits and stuff as our reaction. And we're not going to be using our reaction, even though the other people that we're with will be. At level 2, we get expertise in 2 more skills. That puts us up to 3 expertise at level 2, which is quite strong. You should at this point have expertise in 3 of your charisma skills, which gives you some really silly numbers, and you also get a Jack of all trades, which grants you half your proficiency bonus on every other skill that you're not proficient with. We're really good at skill checks. You could easily multi-class this with Rogue to get the extra skill expertise that the Rogue gets as well, and you would be rocking, I think, some of the highest number of skill expertise going, especially if you take skill expert along the way. Level 3, we are going to choose our bard subclass, which is the Dirge Singer, which is from the Exploring Eberron book. As I said, gives us a few things. It gives you the guidance cantrip, which is always good. We love that. The most important thing it gives you, though, is here. So when you confer a Bardic Inspiration die to a creature, you can also confer that Bardic Inspiration die to a second creature within range. I watched Insight Check's video on these extra subclasses, and he stated he thought this to mean that you could grant 2 dice so a dice to each creature, basically, but 2 instead of 1. The way that I read that is because you're conferring that Bardic Inspiration die to a second creature, they both get 1 at the cost of 1, which is very, very strong, but you're also not doing much else other than that at the moment. You also do get either proficiency in history and performance if you don't already have them, or expertise if you do already have proficiency in those. And you know we've already taken those as part of our background. So we now have 5 expertise. This isn't the thing I'm tracking, but it is cool. You also get second level spells. Aid is always a fantastic choice at second level. It helps you boost everyone's HP up, which is fantastic. I really like Suggestion. for getting rid of enemies, and it's very fitting for the style of character we're going for. Blindness and deafness are also very good, as is hold person and enlarge if you want to buff up an ally or debuff an enemy. At level 4, we get our first AR size, so we're taking our first feat. We're taking field commander, not feat commander. I'm going to leave that in. Don't make me regret leaving that in, alright? Field commander buffs our charisma by 1 and allows us as an action to issue a command to an ally within 60 feet that can hear you. It can immediately take an action as a reaction, which can only be used for 1 attack or to dash, dodge, hide, influence, search, study, or utilize. This really fits the theme of us making our allies kind of part of our unit so that we can make them work in the way that we think is best. You also get type formation, which is while you're within 5 feet of 2 or more allies, you don't have the incapacitated condition, enemies can't have advantage on attack rolls against you, which is a nice little bonus. Level 5, we get our bardics back on a short or long rest, which is fantastic. You can also expend a spell slot to gain a use of bardic inspiration, and if you can give out 2 at a time, that's actually not a bad trade for once. Along with that, we get 3rd level spells. I like Hypnotic Pattern to mess up a whole group of creatures. I like Slow to do the same. And I also like Switcheroo, because you can switch places with an ally if someone's getting too close to you, which I just really like. Level 6 is where this gets really fun, and really where the build comes online properly. So you excel at inspiring and directing soldiers in combat when you take the attack action or the magic action on your turn. 2 creatures of your choice who possess 1 of your bardic inspiration die can expend it to use their reaction to immediately make 1 attack with a weapon or unarmed strike, adding the bardic inspiration die to the attack's damage on a hit. You could, therefore, theoretically at this point, grant bardic to 2 creatures with your bonus action, use your action to cast a debuff spell, and then yell at 2 of your mates to get in there and attack someone. They can't move, to be fair, but they can fire with long-range weapons or, punch someone. So that's pretty good. I like the vibe a lot. Level 7, we get Counter Charm, which is better than it used to be, but still not especially interesting. It helps you reroll saves for Frightening Charmed for your mates, basically. It's fine. It gives us 4th level spells, though, which is lovely. We can choose... My choices here will be Compulsion, Confusion, and Puppet Master. I will go through these quickly. Can I? Thank you. Compulsion is each creature of your choice you can see within a range must succeed in a wisdom saving throw or have the charmed condition until the spell ends. For the duration, you can take a bonus action to designate a direction that is horizontal to you. Each creature must go that way. Basically, this lets you also order your enemies around, which is super fun. Confusion means that they probably won't get much control over what they're doing. And Puppet Master, which I also think fits really, really well, it is from the Crooked Moon book. 1 creature you can see within range must succeed in a wisdom saving throw or have the charmed condition for the duration. Basically, magic strings attached to them. It has to make a melee attack against a creature other than itself you mentally choose, moving to reach the target if necessary. The target can act normally on its own turn. If you don't choose another creature, make sure you always do, or if the creature isn't within the target's reach after it moves. The target repeats the save at the end of each of its turns. You do need to make a bonus action to maintain control as it goes on, but I think that's a pretty good way of doing things, especially if you've just spammed everyone with bardic inspiration up until that point. Again, I think it fits the theme very well. And this is a vibes based build. So speaking of which, ASI again at level 8, we're going to take Inspiring Leader so that we can grant temporary health after every short and long rest up to 6 allies. It's fantastic. It also bumps our charisma to 19, which is always nice. Level 9 gives us yet more expertise. That is 7 expertise for those of you counting, which is fun. I'll show you the way the character sheet looks at 15 once I've gone through all of this, because it is, I don't know, it's satisfying, It gives us 5th level spells, which is always nice. Dominate Person, Hold Monster, Mass Cure Wounds, or Yolande's Regal Presence are all good choice. I'm going to assume most people know most of those. The one that is least likely to be known is Yolande's Regal Presence, which is also from the Player's Handbook. None of my usual third-party nonsense here. You surround yourself with an unearthly majesty in a 10-foot emanation. When it enters the space of a creature you can see, and whenever a creature enters the space themselves or ends its turn there, you can force them to make a wisdom saving throw, taking 4d6 and becoming prone. You can also push them 10 feet away. This just keeps you safe, basically. But I think it's a good one to focus on if you are worried about your own safety. You probably should be. Level 10 gives us magical secrets. This means that we can add Bard, Cleric, Druid, or Wizard spells to our spell list. This is pretty powerful, as it turns out. I like Field of Reaping from the Crooked Moon. Wall of Force is obviously always good, and the new Sungale's Elemental Suffusion is also a fun one. Wall of Force, I think most people know. I will go over the other two as they are less common. Field of Reaping is a Crooked Moon spell. You create a 30-foot cube originating within 90 feet of yourself. A creature that's hostile to the cube when it appears, or when a creature enters that is hostile or ends its turn there, so lots of things. It's cursed until the next turn. While cursed, the first time the creature takes damage during a turn, it takes an extra 1d6 damage. Because this is during every single turn, if you have a reliable way to make sure that lots of creatures are getting in there over the course of turns, that damage can really stack up. Along with that, a creature within the field that isn't hostile regains a number of hit points equal to the extra necrotic damage dealt, which is super cool. And then Sungal's Elemental Suffusion is from the new Forgotten Realms book. I say new, it was like 4 months ago. This lets you imbue yourself with elemental power of genies. It gives you resistance to one of the main chromatic damage types. It lets you have an emanation, which can deal damage to creatures as you're moving around. It gives you a fly speed and a hover speed, which is really, really cool. And you can circle cast it as well. Do you use circle casting in your games? I'd be really interested. We haven't really touched it in any of my games, even though a lot of my players are Magic users. So level 11, we just get 6th level spells. I say just like it's not a big deal. I like Scatter for reorganizing a whole battlefield in an instant. I love Mass Suggestion. It's one of my favorites, just to tell everyone to go take up pottery for 8 hours. Tash's Bobbling Cauldron is also really, really good. And here's another fun one. Weave Numen, which I think is from Grim Hollow. Yep, Grim Hollow. Concentration spell, action to cast, which means you can also trigger the extra reaction attacks that you're giving your mates. You can, please stop wobbling, thank you. You can sense the presence of magic within 120 feet of yourself. You see a faint aura around any visible creature or object within that range that bears magic, and you learn its school of magic, if any. That's really not the good thing. The good thing is this. You get 13 threads, and you can use these to do cool things. When you cast a spell, you can expend 1 thread to enhance the spell as if you expended a spell slot 1 level higher than you did, and you gain a number of temp health equal to 1 plus the level of the spell. This lets you upcast your spells earlier than you should be, which is fun, always fun. And it also lets you gain temp health, which is also very, very good. So this is a very good spell. This does mean you can't concentrate on other stuff, which is the payoff here, because this is a concentration spell, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, theoretically, you could just cast this and then cast something else the next turn and just drop concentration on this one, but that's a whole other thing. You can also take a reaction and expend a thread to counter a spell, basically. And if you cast a spell that causes a creature to be healed or take damage, you can spend up to 6 threads. The amount of damage or healing caused to one creature by that spell is increased by 4 times the number of expended threads, which means you can add an extra 24 damage to the healing or damage, potentially, which is good stuff. At level 12, we get another feat. We're going for Warcaster, obviously bumping our charisma to 20, but it also means that we're just better at all the other stuff we want to be doing. Level 13 is 7th level spells. I like Conjure Celestial here is an absolute phenomenal spell. It does a preposterous amount of work, as it can not only heal allies very consistently, but also damage enemies very consistently. So that's a good one. Force Cage is also good, and I like Simulacrum. And then at level 14, we get the capstone feature here, which is Battle Hymn. This gives you an ability where, as a bonus action, you can start a hymn, which can be heard by all creatures within 60 feet. And then if a creature within 30 feet of you makes an ability check or a saving throw, they can add 1d4 to the ability check or save, which is cool. Yeah, that's it. This is the stat sheet. I'd just like to ignore everything else. But if you just look at the number of expertise here, it's very, very satisfying. I did tweak this build to level 15 to look at spells and just found the 8th level spells to be a little uninspiring for what we're going for. But that's just me. I stop the build when I feel like it's thematically done, and I feel like this one was at 14. If you did take this higher, obviously at level 16, you could take Skill Expert or something. If you wanted another expertise, I would be tempted. It's easy to be tempted with scores of 15 hopping out at you, and even the skills we're theoretically bad at, like history and insight, we still got a +9 to, so it is good stuff. But that is it for this build. It was a slightly shorter video, maybe, theoretically. I didn't have to do any maths, and that was a nice change of pace. But that's how I would build the Dirge Singer. I really like this subclass. If I didn't already have a Valor Bard, I would 100% be clamoring to play this, but I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what your interpretation of the 3rd level skill is, if the creatures share the dice, for example, or if you do have to expend 2, or if it is just 1, or what is love, and so on. That's it for me. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. means a huge amount. I really enjoy covering all the third-party content I do, and actually, thanks to the wonderful lot of you that have been watching, this is covering a lot of the expense of doing this, which is super cool. I'm by no means making money from YouTube, but I'm not losing money doing it anymore, which is kind of cool. But that's it. Do take care now and forever. Be safe. Have fun. Get a nap in, and I will see you next time, whenever that ends up being. Goodbye.